In this one, I want to mess around with PacketPay a little bit. PacketPay, for those who don't know, is a system for monetizing APIs and paying directly for HTTP requests, right? So when a client makes a request to a server using micropayments, BSV micropayments inside the request itself, and exchanging the relevant payment information peer-to-peer, etc. So I think what I want to do is make an example like of how this works and just show like a tutorial for a basic API server that might monetize requests and then a client that can connect to it. And I think I'll also, and there's a common use case where backend systems also want to pay for like, you know, intermediate HTTP requests or whatever from one backend to another backend. So I might make that part of this as well. I'm going to put my screen up and I'm going to try to, right, I'll do this and I'll tab back over here. I'll try to avoid panning around like this as much as possible. If I do it, it's just out of habit, but I should be on a low enough screen resolution now that it's not going to be too often that I do that. I'm just going to click on Chrome here, I think. Actually, let's open up a text edit, right? We'll go to text edit and we'll just start with some requirements. Like, what do we want to build here? So let's make a server, right? And the server is going to add two numbers together. So you'll give it A and B, and it'll add the numbers for you. So adds two numbers and charges for adding them. Okay, and then the client will have inputs for two numbers, and the client will receive back the result. And obviously that means the client will also pay for the request, right? So yeah, the client is going to do these things and the server is going to do these things. And with that, let's actually get started. So I'm going to open up VS Code here. VS Code, the code editor. And actually, let me open a terminal. I'm going to actually just go to my projects directory, and let's go ahead and just make a so go into my projects. Let's just make a directory called FancyCalc, and that's what this is going to be. So FancyCalc code dot, right? Oops. Did that work? Code dot. Can I open my VS Code editor that way? I guess I can't. That's a problem, isn't it? I mean, I would think, you know, I'd be able to code dot open the editor. All right, here we go. That was a bit strange. I don't know what that was there. For this, we're gonna need. Okay, so now I'm in the integrated terminal down here, and I'm gonna try to make this slightly bigger if I can. Although that's a little bit tight here, so I might need to pan around a little bit in this context. I'm going to make directory a server and make directory client. Okay, now we have a client and a server, and actually for the pardon me, for the client, I'm actually going to remove that, and I'm going to create React app client. So did that work? You're using create React app 5, which is behind the latest 5.0.1. I don't really care. We strongly support. Wait. Oh, we no longer support. Okay, so it's telling me uninstall create React app and then npx create React app client. npm uninstall tacg create React app. See, they keep changing things here on me, and that's just a little bit annoying. I think that should work. Okay, so I just want to set up a client project here. And meanwhile, I'll go start the server. So the server is going to need a basic Express server. So, right, Express. In fact, I'm just going to go to the README for PacketPay because that's what we're using. So PacketPay Express, and there should just be an example, right? So let's just go ahead and copy this example, and this is what I'm going to be using as the server. I'm going to make some changes though, because I do want to do a specific, whoops. I want to copy this one and I want to paste it in here. Okay, so yeah, pulling in auth-write, PacketPay, Express, defining a port or run on 5000. Test private key. So would like to access my reminders? What? What? I didn't tell it to. Oh, that was strange. I don't know why it would need my reminders. So this private key, I'm going to generate a new private key. Well, it is the example, so I can just use that. I'm not going to deploy with this private key. So yeah, localhost 5000. So we're using body parser, setting up some cross-origin stuff, configuring auth-write, configuring PacketPay, and I just want to, so this is staging Dojo. So yeah, this is going to be running on testnet. That means I'm going to run the MetaNet stage line client on my computer, etc. So basically what I want to do is allow the server to set up here. So I just want to charge like 500 Satoshis for every request. So whenever a request comes into the server, charge 500 Satoshis. Well, it comes in after, so if it comes in after this middleware, right? That's how middleware works. Then yeah, charge 500 Satoshis. Now we got some routes, and I'm just gonna reuse this one. Well, is there a post anywhere? Yeah, post. So I'm just gonna say add, and so this is gonna be, yeah. So that's client day. This is an echo right now. So what I want to do for my actual route logic, just to do this magic addition thing, is sum, so rec.body.a plus, right, so you give a and b and you get sum back. Okay, that's how our route is going to work. That costs 500 Satoshis. And serve some files, I don't need to do that. I just want to listen, and then example app listening on port. Okay, so I don't need this route up here because this one is not what I was just working on. So yeah, we just have to add. So basically, set up PacketPay, then have this add route /add. That's all. It's a very simple web server, right? So that's the server, really. Now I just need to install the packages. So I'm going to go to the server, and I'm going to, whoops. I want to install Express, auth-write Express, body parser, PacketPay, right? Let's see, what else? Express, body parser, PacketPay, auth-write. I think that's it. Okay, so yeah, I'll just install these 4 things, and I think that should create package.json as well. Let's verify that. It doesn't appear to have. So I guess I need npm init and just do that and then install. So that creates node modules, right? Package.json and all these things that are in here. So that's just installed. And now I should be able to start the server just by saying node index.js, and we get an error. So the server isn't working because Already in use. 5,000 is already in use. Okay, so I'll use a different port then, because on my machine right now, port 5,000 is already in use. I'll make it 3001. We'll put it on 3001. So, is that also in use? Really? Okay, I got some ports in use right now for some reason. I'll try 4004. That should definitely not be in use. Okay, right, we got a port running, we got a server running on port 4004. And, okay, so the server is pretty much done. It's just going to add the numbers, it's going to accept a payment using PacketPay. Now, how do we actually, right, so I got this private key, which is an example. So number one, let me show you how to do this. To get your private key, if you go to a website called ninja.babbage.systems, and here I'm actually signed into a private key right now, so you can see all these transactions, my balance at the top, all this stuff, right? But if I just go over here and I go to settings and I log out, now I'm back at, so this is what you would see if you went to ninja.babbage.systems. The Ninja user interface. So because we're on staging, right? Staging dojo, you want this URL to match the URL that is in the code when you set up, right, PacketPay, so that we're talking to the same dojo server, which runs the backend for like accepting micropayments and stuff. And then you can just generate a new private key. So I'll just generate a new one because, you know, why not? And I'll put it in here. So you should generate a new one because you definitely don't want to use the demo private key to accept real money. So now I can save this, right? And now I'll restart the server because I just saved it. And now the server is using my new private key. And I'm just going to go to, you know, continue. And now I see there's no transactions. And there's zero balance. There's zero balance in the Ninja. So this Ninja thing is what PacketPay uses to accept micropayments. And so you can see all the micropayments on this dashboard here when you accept them. You can also run your own dashboard and your own dojo server if you want. Those are, you know, enterprise things that we can certainly offer. But for this simple demo, we have a server that's running now. It has 0 satoshis, meaning it has no balance in it. And we're going to try to pay the server for doing its API stuff, right? So now there's this, over here there's this React app that we created. So I have 2 terminals, one for the server and the other one on the right is going to be for the client. And I'm going to npm run start. I think I can do that. So this is just going to, so here's some docs for PacketPay. And this is the create React app, like the very basic thing that you get when you start, you know, this project thing. So now I'll close the server and I'll open up the client in my VS Code editor. And I want to install PacketPay because I want to use PacketPay to actually do this, right? So npm install PacketPay.js. So that's going to go into here. And then basically what we need to do in this front end is have a button that when you click on it, it'll go and pay the server and request this. So yeah, let's go ahead and try this. In import PacketPay from PacketPay.js. And there's this app, right? So there's going to be a function on, so handle click equals, you know, it's a function. So this function is going to run when we click a button, and we're going to make that button in a second. So let's just, result is await PacketPay, and this is a, right, what is the URL? So it's going to be localhost 4004/add, right? And it's a post request, so method post, and the body is going to be json.stringify, and we can stringify, right? We have A and B, so A is going to be 3 for now, and B is going to be 2. So 3 plus 2. So that's going to be the result, right? So I should then be able to log the result onto the screen. So, right, when you click the button, we go ask the server to add these two numbers and pay it, and then we get the result back. So that's the basic thing, right? Let's just go down here. So it says edit, right? I'm gonna delete this stuff. I don't think it's necessary, this image and everything. And I'll just use this code snippet thing that's here. So I'll just say button on click equals, handle click, and I can then say send request or something. I'll just say send, simpler. So I'll save this, and now I'm getting yelled at in the user interface. So why am I getting this scary error? Module build failed from Babel loader. It's saying, oh, I have await. So await, you can only use await, right? Await syntax to wait for the request to be finished if you put your function as async. So you need async to do await. Now we'll see if it's going to work. We'll go back here, and it looks like, what do we got now? So cannot resolve crypto in this context. That's because of Webpack. So that basically indicates that that this create React app choice that I made earlier wasn't the best. So maybe create React app is really not a good thing to use here. In fact, I really don't think it is. So I'm going to not use create React app, and instead I'm going to use Webpack. So I'm going to stop this. I'm going to go and we have to set up our own Webpack files now. So I'll go to package.json, and I'm going to delete a lot of these things that I don't think are necessary because they're for the React. Right? We don't like React scripts. I think. I'm curious if I just change this to an older version, because I know this worked before, and I'm not old, but I guess in programming years I'm getting old, because I remember when I was able to just do 3.4.3, and then so that's like 4 years old now apparently, and there's probably a bunch of bugs and reasons why you shouldn't do this, but it works. So I just say npmi, and it's going to hopefully install everything. And on 3.4.3, so I just changed that React scripts on line 9. Well, I deleted a bunch of stuff. The testing libraries, I deleted those because I don't think they're necessary. And now it's going to, do this install. So I just ran npmi to have this new, old version of React scripts installed, because it works, right? Rather than to do Webpack config and everything else. I mean, you can do a Webpack config. In fact, that's probably the recommended way of doing this. But just to do a basic setup here for how to make PacketPay work. Wait for this to be installed, and then I'll try to run npm run start again, and we'll see what happens this time, whether it's going to actually give me what I want now. So now I'm going to open the JavaScript console by hitting F12 on my keyboard, because I'm curious what this error is. When you see a white screen like that, you'll see it's probably an error. So React is not defined in app.js on line 21, so that means I need to import. So we go back to app.js. I guess I need to import React. Okay. And now we see the button. That's what I wanted this whole time. So I'll click the button. and immediately there's some errors. One of them is JSON.stringify is not a function. And that's because I think I capitalized the Y on accident, I think. So JSON.stringify, lowercase y. So line 13 there. I'll fix that and save it again. And I'll try to click the button again. Okay. And this time, the user does not have a current Babbage identity. Install a MetaNet portal, right? So basically, the user, we're trying to pay for something, right? The user needs to be able to pay the server to make this request. So that way the server can, can get some Satoshis into its Ninja here, right? Like we were talking about. And in order to do that, the client is trying to use the MetaNet to make this payment, the MetaNet client, but there's no MetaNet client running. So now I'm going to launch the thing called MetaNet StageLine, which is for staging, like testnet, right? We're just testing stuff, messing around. So I'll launch StageLine MetaNet client. And this is something that users like, we could have a, we'll add this later actually. We could have a thing that says you need to download the MetaNet client onto your computer. So there's not just a random error if it doesn't work, right? So now the user has this, and now I'm running this on my own MetaNet client. So I'll hit the button again. And I think it's loading. Uncaught reference error. Oh, process is not defined. Okay, that's strange. Can I click? I think I have to refresh this page. I'll go ahead and refresh this page. I'll click on this button again. And this time we see the MetaNet client actually popping up, right? The app, right? Create React App Sample would like to access the identity key. So I'll allow that. It's popping up again and it's asking if it would allow, it wants to use authorite. So I'll allow that. Authorite is a thing for this context. Would like to access this payment protocol, so I'll allow that. And now it's actually asking if I would like to pay 500 Satoshis. And if you remember, that's actually how much the server wanted to charge for each request. So I'll make the payment. And now we see the response, right? So status 200, and we have the body, and the body is an array buffer. So we didn't parse the body, right? We didn't parse the body, which means we need to do some logging, right? We need to grab body and we need to actually make it into a useful structure. So it's like buffer.from result.body .toString UTF-8. So I think that is a way to parse that body response properly. But let's go over to Ninja and see what happened on the server side. So I'll refresh this. And now you can see that there's a transaction. And the balance of the server is 500 Satoshis. So the client paid the server to make that request. And now there's 500 Satoshis. And you see this here. It's like the transaction ID and payment to /add, right? So that's the route that the server actually received something. So this server is just sitting here adding numbers. And now I'll go ahead and actually, now that I have I think I added this line of code on the client, so it might actually log it properly now and show the response on the screen. But I'll click the button again, and I'll just approve another 500 Satoshis. And now you see that 2 plus 3 equals 5. So the sum that the server sent back to the client after it added for 500 Satoshis was 5. So now we can make this a little bit more pretty if we want. We can add, loading symbols. We can add other things that make it a little bit nicer. One of the things I like to do in this context is, I don't know, okay, so the first thing we're probably going to want is a way to, this is like a fancy calculator. That's what this is called, FancyCalc, right? So let's go ahead and add, that's going to be the name of the button, and I want an input type equals text. The value is going to be A. On change, it's going to be E arrow set A. So that's basically some code for making the text field have the right thing, right? Input type equals text, value equals A. Oh, A, yeah. And then on change, and then we'll close off the text field, and I'll do the same thing for B. So we have A and set A, and B and set B, right? So, and then we're gonna hook these up to, so value equals B, set B, right? And this needs to be opening curly brackets and not square brackets like I accidentally put here. So set A and set B, and now I'm going to make a state variable. So I'm going to say import React, and I also want use state and A, set A. Let's make the default state variable, call it 3. B, set B, 2. So 3 plus 2 is going to be like the default thing unless they change it. And then I also want a result. So sum, whoops, sum and set sum is use state, and I'll just say 0. So this is the, so I'm going to say let parsed result, and I'm going to say json.parse buffer.from result.body .toString UTF-8. So this is the parsed version of the result, and I'm going to say set the sum equal to parsed result.sum. Okay, so now there's set sum, and now I can use sum in the user interface. So there's this button, and then below the button I'll say paragraph tag, and I'll just say sum, and I'll just log out the sum there. So let's see how this looks so far. I'll save it. Looks like there's going to be an error. I'm going to refresh the page because I suspect there's going to be an error. Oh, I haven't seen that. React hook use state is called in function. Oh, am I calling this in the wrong place? Yeah, these use states, they have to be up. They have to be up. They have to be inside of here. That's my bad. So I'm just going to put these up here, and then I'll try this. Okay, now it looks like we have 2, 3, and sum of 0. That's obviously not right. I guess the question is, okay, I'll change this to 4 and 6, and I'll hit add, and I'll pay the 500 satoshis. And 5? That's not right. Wait, 4 and 6 equals 5? Oh, maybe okay, I'm going to go to the network tab in my logging over here in Google Chrome, and so there's this add function, and I'll just go to the payload, and we see that A is 3 and B is 2. So I guess that means that when I changed the text field values, it didn't actually update the variables. So the input type equals text, and then on change, set b e.target.value. So the onChange didn't actually work properly, because when I used those variables, never mind. Actually, I just didn't put them in. So I have A and I want A to be A, and I have B and I want B to be B, right? That makes more sense. So now I'll plug them in properly, right? And I'll reload the page. Now I understand why that didn't work. And I'll go back to the console over here and I'll just hit the button. So I want to, once again, I want to add 4 and 6, and I'll hit add. I'll pay the Satoshis once more. And it's 46. That's classic. So the reason why it's 46 is because I didn't convert them to numbers properly. So 4 plus 6 is not 46, but it is, right. So we can see that this is a string. It got quotes around it, and it shouldn't have quotes around it. So because of that, it made it, so I want to say basically these need to be numbers. So it's forcing this variable to be number, right? And I guess I want this to be type equals number instead of type equals text. Okay. And now, you know, if it refreshes itself, right? Yeah. So now you can see these little up down arrowy things on the right when I hover over. That means it's type equals number. So like if I use the up arrow on my keyboard, you know, I could say 11 plus 17, and I can then hit add. And this time I'll pay the 500 Satoshis, and 11 plus 17 equals 28. Now we have our little calculator, right? So that's how that's supposed to work. Now, if I go to the Ninja and I refresh this, now this server's over here just getting rich, adding numbers up for people. There's what, 5 transactions there now, and 2,500 Satoshis that it's made from just adding numbers up. So that's what the server does. Obviously, you know, people might make more useful things with this system, I would hope. But the only problem is now I'm going to close out of this MetaNet client. So I'm going to go to quit, and then I'm actually going to go up to the top on my computer screen. I'm going to say quit MetaNet stage line from the top right in my system tray, right? So I'll just say quit, and now it's gone. See, it's not there anymore. So now when I click this button, right, something, right? You get an. Do we get an error? What does it say? Failed to fetch. It could not connect to the MetaNet client. And if I refresh before there was an error, then it's probably going to say something like, you know, you need to have a MetaNet client installed, right? The user does not have a current Babbage identity. Install a MetaNet client, MetaNet portal, whatever. It should be MetaNet client to access this system. But that's just in the console. We're not actually showing anything to the user, right? So one thing we could do is we could have an exception handling thing, it's called, right? Try catch. So I could just say, well, try to do this. And in case of any errors, right, I could just say alert, it'd be alert e.message. So in case of any errors, put them up so the user can see them. Okay? So let's try this. I'll refresh the page again, and I'll click this add button. And of course we get this error because the user does not have a MetaNet identity. So that's not really friendly though, you know, like how do we really let them know what they need to do? So that's something where we've actually got a solution. So if you're in the client, I can install a new package, just like I installed, you know, earlier I did PacketPay.js. I installed it, and I'll move this so it's a little bit easier. I don't know. Yeah, so I tried to install the PacketPay, but this time I want to install Babbage React Prompt. And so doing this makes it so that, and we'll use this in a second. So I'll show you how to use the React prompt. So there, now it's installed. I'll go to index.js, and I'll go ahead and import. I think it's just prompt. I'm not looking at the documentation right now. I should. From Babbage React prompt, and then I can just, instead of where it says React, whatever, I can go inside here and I can just say prompt, and whoops. So I want prompt, and then I want my app inside the prompt. So the prompt will let the app run when there's a MetaNet client, but it won't let it run when there's not. So I'll save it. And now when I go back to the browser, I think, I'm waiting for this terminal over here. It says compiling right now. So if I go to the browser, still compiling? That's awful. Taking a long time. One thing you can do, I'll just do this while it's compiling. App name equals, and you can call your app, FancyCalc. So that's one thing you can do inside the prompt, is you can tell it what your app name is. And you'll see why in a second if this works. So I hit save, it should be compiling. I'm going to refresh the page even though it says it's compiling. And I don't know why it's taking so long right now. But I've installed the MetaNet prompt. Is it going to do it? Now it's showing me a blank screen. No, it might be loading. Still says it's compiling. I don't know what's going on. If this ever gets all stuck like this. Wait, now it shows me compiling with warnings. Okay, now can I refresh the page? I think so. What does it tell me now? I get an error over here, right? Type is invalid. Oh, okay. Basically what's happening is I gotta read my documentation. I thought it was prompt, but I'm gonna go to the package. So if I go to just like any package on npm, right? I npm installed that package. So I just searched for Babbage React prompt, and so it looks like it's just called Babbage prompt. Like I don't have to put it in brackets or anything. So I'll go ahead and just do that. I'll get rid of these braces around here. And I thought it was called prompt for some reason. Right. So, and you can see the example how it works. You can give your app name, your author, author URL, a description, app icon. You can even give some screenshots of your app if you want. And what it does is it shows this. So tell the user, right, this app requires the MetaNet client. And so you got FancyCalc up here because that's what I told it what the app name was. Example author, because I can give my author. I'll just say author equals Ty Everett, and my author URL equals, I don't know, tyeverett.com. So that's me. And when this reloads, now I have Ty Everett. And if I click on this, I believe it takes me to my own website, tyeverett.com, and it can close out of that. So what it's saying, though, is that you need to install the MetaNet client on your computer. And it's checking over here. You can see in this console every second it's checking. So it's asking me right on the bottom, waiting for this to launch, waiting. And there's some example screenshots and stuff over here. You can change these if you want by just providing your own, right? So you can swipe across these different ones, your different screenshots, and put your app icon in here. But it's asking you to launch the MetaNet client. And if I go and launch now my Babbage stage line, right? So to use this app that has this micropayment API, so the server operator can make money in the Ninja, right? I just launched it, and you can see, number one, that all these, I've already paid for these ones. Remember, these are the ones that we were just testing earlier. I approved these actions, and I can see them here. And that's how the MetaNet client works. And so now the API server gets to just sit over here and do all of its addition. I could add a multiply, which could cost more, and a subtract, which could cost slightly less. I don't know. I could make it cost more depending on how much you're adding. So that would be an interesting thing to do. I won't do that because I think that addition is fairly straightforward. But now it knows that the MetaNet client is open, and I have the ability to figure out what 345 plus 993 is. So I'll go ahead and add, and I'll approve the action. And then I figure out that, what do you know, it's 1,338. So that's it. I mean, now I paid 500 Satoshis, and if I want to change that price once again, I can go back into the server over here, and I just go to index, and I can just change how this price calculator works. So I can say I really only want to charge 300. So I've changed the price. I save that. I have to remember to stop the server and restart it so that now it knows about the change. But if I want to calculate something now, I'll just say 10 plus 10, and now see, this is only charging me 300 for the there's the Bitcoin transaction fees, etc. But I'll just approve that, and now I know that 10 plus 10 is 20, and it shows it on the screen. And in the user interface for Ninja, I'll refresh this, and I see that my balance is now 3,300 because there's these ones which are all going to be 500, and then the very top one, though, it's 300 because I changed the price. So yeah, this is how PacketPay works, and this is how you can use it to monetize your APIs and services. So this is an example where a person who has a web browser on their computer, or maybe if you have a mobile app on iOS or Android, there's also a MetaNet client that you have for your mobile app, right? So you can, in your mobile app, you actually have a version of a MetaNet client where users can approve things and have their own identity. But that's for desktop and laptop. And then if you have a server, right? If you have a server to server, like suppose you run a backend server and you want to pay for some other API that you're using that uses PacketPay. That's actually pretty simple. So we talked about private keys earlier. So the server, you could set up a private key. So you give it, this key here, and when you're a client, right? So the client, so this key, for example, now it has 3,300 Satoshis on it. So if I wanted to use this as a client, then all I would need to do is I can now, if I don't want to use the MetaNet, I could, and I won't do this right now, but you have 3 parameters to this one, and the third parameter, if you just tell it client private key, and I just gave it this key, this key actually has 3,300 Satoshis on it, right? But now I can use this key to actually request other resources. So I don't need to have a MetaNet client running. The MetaNet client is useful for browser applications where a user pays for something. But when I, as the backend server, want to actually make a request, I can provide a key like this, and I don't need a MetaNet client to make the payment. So that's how that works. And like I said, the Dojo URL and everything that we configured for the server, you can run your own Dojo for your own needs. And that's something that way you don't have to trust me and run on my Dojo, right? I believe that's configured here. So yeah, you can run your own Dojo. You just reach out to us, and we'll, it's like an enterprise thing. So you can run your own instance. We'll deploy it for you on your own infrastructure, or you can deploy it yourself. Just license the code from us, and then you have a full SPV architecture where you're actually validating SPV for your Bitcoin SV, APIs. And you're making money. So this server just gets to sit here and add up, numbers and make money. So that's what I wanted to go over here in this one. I think PacketPay is one of the more useful and well-rounded and applicable things that we've been doing recently. So I'm excited to help more people use it and understand it. And so I hope this tutorial can benefit people in understanding how PacketPay works and what it can be used for in terms of building APIs that are monetized using BSV. So this API isn't very useful. It's just adding something, but any API really can benefit from this. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to watch this and to understand it. This has been Ty Everett of Project Babbage. You can reach us on our website. You can go to Actually, I'll just show you. You can go to chat.projectbabbage.com, or if you just go to projectbabbage.com. So I want to show a couple things actually. To learn more about this, you should go to the Learn tab, and you should read some of these things. Like, here's how you can download your metadata tools. This is where you download the Babbage stage line for testing on your operating system. But in terms of PacketPay specifically, if you go on the left here, you can just click on PacketPay. It tells you what PacketPay is, and you can read all about it. You can read about the various concepts behind PacketPay and how it works for you, and the different things you should know. There's tutorials, so like this one, we're building a weather app, weather API, and then there's this video, which is going to be in here too at some point. And the other thing though I wanted to say was this join button on the very top right. If you go to this join button, it takes you to the chat system for Project Babbage. So you can join, you just make an account, right? Don't use like a 10-minute email box or whatever, because it's kind of, we'd rather you use your normal email, but some people had issues with joining the chat system through email, whatever. So just, let me know, I guess. But yeah, there's some developer resources on here as well. If you go to the bottom, you can see support. And this is how you can reach us, how you can, how you can get in contact with the people building stuff on the MetaNet client, and this way of doing things. So yeah, I just wanted to mention you can go to the website and go to the Learn tab and read a lot of these things and understand how they work at a high level, and then actually get some experience. So pretty cool stuff if you ask me. I think that's it for this one. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to watch and to understand this. PacketPay is one of the coolest things I think I've built, and I look forward to seeing what people do with it in the coming decades.